Hi everyone, Mike here from Robart, and we're going to do some woodworking. We're going to do some repairs using the Zap 30-minute Z-Poxy with the Robart carbide cutters. So let's just jump right in and I'll show you what we have going. Okay, so what we have here is we have a hinge that has been stripped out of the door on a cabinet. So first thing we have to do is we have to get these screws out and then get the anchors out also. So as you can see here, the screws were put into anchors which were into the wood. So now we got to get these anchors off. Now, if for some reason you were to ruin these anchors, don't worry about it. You'll see in one of these techniques that we're actually going to completely replace this anchor. Okay, so we've got all the screws off of the side that's been damaged, that was stripped out of the cabinet. So here are the two holes that were stripped. So we're going to do two different techniques here. One is just a cleanup, and we're going to glue the anchor that screw was into back in. On the other side, what we're actually going to do is I'm going to show you how you can use the Z-Poxy to tap into this wood. So we're going to take our 30-minute Z-Poxy. And we're going to take the Robart carbide cutter. I'm going to start off with the rod. Okay, we offer these in small rod, disc, a larger rod, 2 ball cutters, and a cone. We offer them in a coarse as well as a fine grit also. The reason that we're taking the carbide cutter is just to clean this, clean up if there's any adhesive, as well as any adhesive that was left on from the manufacturing process, as well as the if there's any other debris, so on and so forth. So we want to give our Z-Poxy something to grab onto. These carbide cutters, they work great with any rotary tool. So all I'm going to do is just get in there, just clean it up a little bit. Get rid of any of the dust. So this side right now is ready to glue. Equal parts of the hardener as well as the resin. And it's 50-50. Don't worry about mixing any more or less. One part of the hardener, one part of the resin. And as we're just doing a small repair here, I'm not mixing a lot of this together. So now take your 30-minute, take your Z-Poxy, start to fill the original hole. Make sure you've got enough Z-Poxy down in there. Another nice trick is if you have a syringe, you can bring in some of the Z-Poxy into the syringe and squirt it down into the hole. Take your anchor from before, press that down in, give it a little twist back and forth as you press this in. Make sure you get that anchor all the way down in tight. Wipe off the excess with a rag. If you want to really clean it up some more, you could use a little denatured alcohol and get some of the excess off. But as this is on the inside and there's going to be a hinge that's going to cover it, I'm not that worried about it. So right there, let that sit 30 minutes for the set time, full cure 24 hours, and then you'll be able to put the hinge, screw that hinge right back into there. Now, if you wanted to take it to the next level, what you can do is we can actually use our Z-Poxy here and we could completely fill this. And I'll teach you here what you could do is use the threads of the screw to create a tap in there. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take our Robart carbide cutter, get in and clean up this hole, and we're going to make it a little oblong. So we're going to open it up a little bit. So as you can see, what I've done is I've opened up that hole and I've made it almost oval-like. And what that does is that is now going to give our Z-Poxy more space and more gripping power as opposed to just having a symmetric hole. So clean that out, get all the dust out. Okay. And as you can see over here on the inside, I have a hole there. I have a gap that I need to fill. So all I'm going to do is take some scotch tape or some masking tape, any type of tape really to cover that and block that. And you basically create a dam for that to hold in all of the Z-Poxy. So here I've got some painter's tape. Just place a little bit of that painter's tape in there, and all that's going to do is hold the Z-Poxy because we are going to completely fill this hole. So again, we come back to our 30-minute Z-Poxy here, okay? And you are going to need this painter's tape for when we're tapping the screw, so don't get rid of it. Again, equal parts, 50-50 of the resin and the hardener. Mix it up. You want to make sure that you really mix up your resin and your hardener so that you get a good cure. So now we've got that mixed up. Now what we want to do is we want to completely fill that original hole. So here we've got the Z-Poxy in there. It's all filled. Now, take your tape. Actually, prior to the tape, is we want to clean up the edge get any excess that is above the hole. Take your painter's tape, put the painter's tape over the top of the Z-Poxy. Okay, so now we've got the tape over the top of the hole that's completely filled with the Z-Poxy. Again, take another mixing cup. Now we need some type of a release agent. So we've got some Marvel Mystery Oil, WD-40 works, just your normal everyday oil for your car oil, two-stroke oil, whatever you got. All we're looking to do is put some type of a release agent on the screw so that once you put it into the Z-Poxy, it now has some type of lubricant where you can back the screw back out. So here's the screw. Just go ahead and dip that in the oil. Give it a shake off. You don't need a ton of it. Now you take your oil or your screw after it's been dipped in the release agent, press it through the tape that you have on as on top of the Z-Poxy, and now let that screw sit in there overnight. Let the Z-Poxy fully cure, and tomorrow we'll come back, we'll unscrew that, and we'll put this all back together. All right, so we've let this sit overnight. We've let our Z-Poxy fully cure. I've gone ahead and zoomed in even closer so that you can get a tighter look at what we did yesterday. So you can see I've got a blocker here from where the hole had opened up into this cavity. We've got our screw that's being held up by this piece of tape. The screw has the release agent on it. And then on this side, I've simply put the original anchor back in using the 30-minute Z-Poxy to adhere that to the wood. So what we're going to do now is open this all up and reattach our hinge. Simply take your tape off and then unscrew and that, as you can see, that release agent has allowed this screw to come off, and now inside of that epoxy are the exact threads of this screw. Go ahead and remove your tape. Take your rotary tool, clean up any sharp edges. You can also use a little bit of sandpaper if you want. Clean up any of the tape that's adhered. And now we can reinstall our hinge. All right, so here's the original hinge still on the other door. Go ahead and line everything back up. Screw. 2 screws. Nice and firm. Nice and firm. And we're all complete. 2 different options getting you to the same end point. If you do not have that anchor, go ahead and you can re-tap your holes using the Zap Z-Poxy. Otherwise, you can use the Z-Poxy to adhere that anchor back in. For more information, check us out at www.robart.com. Give us a call at 630-584-7616 or check us out on Facebook.